G'day guys, before we hop into today's vlog, I just want to remind you to hit that subscribe button. From now on, I'm going to be putting out daily vlogs every single day. I'm going to be tracking my process, playing these 126 max games, hopefully moving up in stakes. But even if I don't, you'll get to watch me fall on my face every single day on this YouTube channel. So make sure you hit subscribe so you get the new videos as they come out every single day. For now, onto the vlog. G'day guys, welcome back to the vlog. It's currently 5:30 a.m. on yet another Melbourne morning. I just woke up, so I'm super tired, but we're gonna get some brekkie in me, and then we're gonna get to play some poker. 1,500 hands today is the goal. Let's go. Okay, so it's about 10 past 6 a.m. now. I've got a good feed in me. I'm feeling much better. Feeling like I'm ready to go play some online poker. We're just gonna focus on today, yet again, that over-aggression. Just trying to dial it back. If I do get a good distribution of cards and I start, raising a lot, 3-betting a lot, that's when I'm gonna have to dial back and start 3-betting a tighter range, just to try and make good use of my table image, whatever it may be. The important thing is I just stay cognizant of things like that as I play. So let's get these 1,500 hands and let's get this A grade level poker. Hey there guys, it is much later in the day now. It is currently 6 p.m. actually, so it's been a pretty long day for me, but I have finally wrapped up my second session for the day. Ended up playing a total of 6 hours and 50 minutes of poker today for a grand total of 1,720 hands. So obviously, yet again, we've smashed the 1,500 goal out of the park for the day, so I'm obviously stoked about that. One thing I'm definitely not stoked about is the results from this session. After all was said and done, I ended up losing 824 on the session, which is by far the biggest loss I've had since starting the online poker vlogs. So obviously that's not great, but as far as my gameplay grade for the session goes, I'm gonna give myself a B. And look, I know what you might be thinking. How are you gonna give yourself such a good grade when you had such a substantial loss on the session? It's a good question, and my response to it would be, I'm not actually that disappointed with how I played throughout the session. I think the substantial size of the loss has more to do with how I ran throughout the course of the session, which obviously was pretty awful. I know people always complain about running bad, and I'm probably going to be that guy right now, but I ran awful throughout the session, but I didn't let it tilt me as much as I potentially could have. I think maybe it did tilt me in a little bit and I was playing a little bit too passive in certain spots, but I definitely didn't go like crazy and start like bluffing too much or calling really light. I think I still played pretty good poker despite, running bad throughout the session. So it didn't let it affect me, and I'm proud of that at least. But obviously I can't go to the A grade level when I was making those mistakes of potentially being a bit too passive. So B feels about right for the session. So I know it's not enough to just come and complaining about running bad. You guys are going to want some receipts for that. Well, don't worry, because I got a good one for you. So I am in the hijack with ace jack of spades. I go ahead and raise up to 4. Then I get a call from an unknown cutoff, and we go heads up to a flop of queen jack 9 with 2 hearts, 1 spade. The action's on me here, and I think I already have a pretty interesting decision on the flop, whether I want to c-bet or just check. The reasons I would like c-betting is I do have a pretty strong hand. Obviously I have the nut middle pair and the backdoor nut flush draw. So it might be a good spot to bet and just push that equity against my opponent. Having said that though, there's a lot of merit to checking as well. My opponent's going to have a lot of strong hands on this board. Obviously they can have king 10, king queen, a bunch of stuff that they're going to want to bet when checks too. So I can look to check call with a pretty strong hand. Ultimately, I do decide to check, but I think both options have a lot of merit, so I don't really mind either one. I decide to check in this instance, and then my opponent does check back. So we get to see a turn, which is the 6 of spades. Pretty good turn. We have the nut flush draw now, and I think in this spot, I do want to go ahead and start betting my hand. If my opponent did have a stronger hand than ace jack, I think they're pretty likely to bet it on the flop themselves, like if they had king queen. They want to bet that themselves. So I'm pretty confident I do have the best hand. So I'm looking to get a bit of value with a bet. I go ahead and bet 9, and then my opponent does call. So we're still heads up to the river, and it's a banger. It is the 10 of spades. So we go ahead and make the nut flush on the river. Now I think I have a pretty interesting decision here with what I want to do with my nut flush. Do I want to go ahead and bet it for value, or do I want to mix in the check raise? Well, in my opinion, the best move here is to mix in the check raise. That's because, look at the board. There's a 4-liner to both an 8 and a king out there. So obviously, if our opponent does have either of those hands, we can look to mix in the check raise and potentially build an even bigger pot by check raising. Obviously, if we went ahead and bet ourselves, the pot would be a lot smaller. And when he calls with those hands, we're not winning as much money. So I'd rather just check raise here. So that's what I go ahead and do. I check it. Then my opponent bets it. He goes ahead and makes it 28. So about the size of the pot. Obviously, we're loving life with the nut flush here. So I go ahead and mix in the check raise. 99. Then my opponent tanks for a few seconds before ripping it all in. Okay, I wasn't quite expecting that. I don't think my opponent would shove a king here. If they had king jack, I don't think they're shoving it here. They've got to be worried, I have ace king or I have a flush. So I think it's pretty likely they do have a flush themselves. So obviously we're snap calling with the nut flush here. And then my opponent shows 8-7 of spades. Yeah, they rivered the straight flush when we made the nut flush. So what can you do there? Gonna get stacked when we get the nut flush in against a straight flush. That's just part of poker. It is what it is. But I just wanted to give you guys a pretty cool bad beat story, but also just an example of the type of run bad I was having throughout this session. So if I'm going to look for the silver lining in this session, and I do think there is a silver lining to look for, this is what it's going to be. Today was just my day to run bad. Obviously, it's part of poker. Obviously, you're going to have losing sessions where you do just get unlucky. And today was just my day for that to happen. I still was pretty, comfortable with how I played, giving myself a B. And, next week I'll probably have an $800 win. And I'll give myself a B again. Whether you win a lot or lose a lot doesn't really matter, because it's just those big cooler hands that are going to influence it. It is when you get the straight flush against the nut flush. It is when you get kings in against aces that determine how those big swings and whether you're winning or you're losing. But what's more important is the actual decisions you make and playing good poker despite all those big swings. Sometimes it's even the smaller pots where you just take it down with a C-bet, whether you just check fold on the flop. Those are the ones that really influence your win rate over the long run. So I'm not going to get too caught up in the big loss, or next time I have a big win, I hope I can remain level-headed and not get caught up in the big win either. Just continue to put in volume each day and try and play my best grade possible. So that's going to wrap up the vlog for today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. As always, make sure you hit that subscribe button. It's daily vlogs. You're going to want to see them as soon as they come out. So the best way to make that happen, hit subscribe. But for now, I'm out of here. Peace.